Hey everyone, and welcome to SkillCapped. My name is Dr. Zora, and in today's video, we're going to be reviewing one of the most overpowered agents that for some reason everyone has been sleeping on. If you've been playing Valorant for a while, you've probably noticed that some agents are more popular than others. For example, well, pretty much every duelist is popular, except if you're Yoru, then well, Sag. Insta-locking duelist has pretty much become the meta these days, but we're shocked to hear that this other agent has a near 0% insta-lock rate. No, it's not a sentinel, and no, it's not a controller either. That leaves us with the initiators, and in particular, Breach has become one of the most powerful agents in the game, yet he has gotten no attention. We're going to go through Breach's history in Valorant so far, and why you need to be playing him now if you want to increase your chances of winning games. With that being said, let's get into the video. And to start things off, we have our question of the day. Who is your most favorite agent to play that is not a duelist? We already know that duelists are the most popularly selected agents at the moment, which is why we want to know what other agents that you guys are all playing. If you have another agent you play, put it in the comments below, and if you don't play anything else but duelists, then write that down as well. We're curious about how dominant the duelists truly are at the moment and want to hear what you guys are all playing. To start things off, let's take a look at Breach's current pick rate. Regarding professional play, Europe and Korea have actually had some okay pick rates as of late in the latest VCT Masters tournament, rocking a 36% and 32% pick rate. However, it's in NA and the general public that we see his numbers dwindle to shreds. In professional play, NA had an 18% pick rate in VCT Challengers, and when looking at multiple ranks in general, we see that Breach is constantly in the bottom 5, and in most ranks is actually the second least picked agent after our poor boy Yoru. There are many reasons why this is the case. The first is because all of his abilities are slow to trigger and activate. The time to pull out these abilities is quite high and can make him feel sluggish to use compared to other agents like the fast-paced duelists. Along with that, because his abilities are so slow, it's hard to see the direct effects of his abilities and therefore feel rewarded for it. For example, rarely will you see the effects of your fault line or aftershock hitting a player or pushing a player out of position, thus giving you some more map control. Along with that, with how far range Breach can throw some of his flashes, it can be tough to see in the moment whether your abilities did anything. Instead, your reward is pressing tab at the end of the round and looking at your stats. Some players may get a dopamine hit out of this, but most would prefer to see the effects of their abilities in the moment rather than looking at numbers on the screen afterwards after all the action is done and over. To add to this, because Breach's abilities are slow, he's much better used to make team-oriented plays rather than plays on his own. This is why we see Breach's pick rate much higher in pro play compared to the rest of the Valorant community. Teams know how to work together and make Breach an effective agent pick, while everyone else doesn't, or honestly just prefers to play for themselves and make their own individual highlights, which can be hard to accomplish with an agent like Breach. And with how useful Breach's abilities are, you're going to be spending a lot of time taking your abilities out and using them during fights, which means less time that you're getting into enemy faces and shooting their heads off. It's a playstyle that isn't appealing to most players, and with everything that we talked about, it's no surprise he's a less favored agent in the community, despite being one of the best agents that has the highest chance of tilting your enemies. Now you may be wondering, what is it about Breach that makes him so powerful? Well, for starters, Breach has one of the most annoying flashes in the game. The range is absolutely insane, and because you're able to fire it through walls, it can catch players completely off guard with no time to react. Not only is it really hard to avoid and lasts a long time, but in patch 1.07, Riot buffed Breach and gave him 3 flashes. That's right, one of the longest lasting flashes in the game, and they gave Breach 3 of them. Imagine just seeing your whole screen blind for practically 10 whole seconds, and by the end of it, you're just dead. Yeah, we've all been there at some point. The only other agent that has 3 flashes is Skye, however hers are much harder to maneuver, while Breach's flashes are essentially on easy mode. Breach's flash range is also obnoxious and can really open the doors for surprise team plays. You can see in this clip here that Breach is actually able to throw a flash into hookah from B long. This allowed Breach to grab B long control and then successfully help his team also get hookah control, which opens up the door completely for a B site hit. These kinds of flashes take some practice to discover and properly use though, which is why we don't see it done more often in typical matches. Breach's flashes alone are practically enough to put him high into the tier list, but his other abilities are also insanely useful, which is why he's a step above several of the agents currently in Valorant. Breach's Fault Line and Aftershock are also great at clearing out areas and forcing enemies to reposition themselves. The range of these abilities are also insanely far, thus giving you a variety of options on where you want to use them regardless of where you are currently positioned. Now we have emphasized a lot about coordination and team play when using Breach, but it is possible to use them to make your own individual plays. And with enough practice, they can look just as smooth as if you were pushing with another agent. For example, if you're in shower, you can just as easily get to the corners and flash yourself in just like you would with Phoenix Flash or Yoru Flash, for example. In fact, we've seen players take over an entire choke point by simply holding W key and constantly flashing as they push through. It's an easy yet very effective way of taking map control and giving your enemies less options to work with. One point that we also wanted to emphasize is just how good Breach is at countering the Operator. We get it, the Operator is currently incredibly strong in the current state of Valorant and can be so annoying to deal with. However, the Operator really shines when the player is able to get into an angle and hold it. All of Breach's abilities are fantastic for blinding these angles ahead of time, thus forcing the player to back off. If the Operator gets blinded, the player either has to back away to another less optimal position, or they can decide to push back in, where they risk getting blinded again and killed, or risk the player being in an off angle afterwards and forcing them to hit a very difficult flick shot, where they're likely to miss and then you get an easy kill off them. Lastly, Breach's ultimate Rolling Thunder is incredibly useful for both attack and defense. On attack side, you can use it to clear out and push through a site. You may not get the entire area that you may want, but it does narrow down the number of options and spots that you have to clear, thus giving you an easier time of committing to your peaks and killing the enemies that are in the other areas. This is particularly useful when your team is low on utility and you need something to help clear choke points out. And if you time this correctly, the enemies won't be able to escape and will just be sitting ducks for you to also kill. You can use Rolling Thunder on defense in a similar fashion to clear out a choke point during a retake, or to knock out players that you hear are pushing towards an area. Every single ability that Breach has can make a big impact on a round. Again, his flashes are really the shining part of Breach's ability kit, but every single ability can be incredibly annoying to verse against. You can end up stunned, concussed, or staring at an orange screen while you have to wait and accept your inevitable death. When you take advantage of these abilities, Breach is not only extremely powerful, but also extremely fun to play. We forgot to mention another satisfying part about playing Breach, which is seeing the enemy writing about how irritated they are at your flashes, which is essentially music to a Breach player's ears. With efficient practice and good team communication, you'll be guaranteed to follow up a majority of your flashes with a kill and tilt your enemies to another dimension. Alright, so which agent is your favorite to play that is not a duelist? Make sure to leave a comment below if you haven't already, and while you're down there, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to get more premium guides just like this one with one goal in mind, helping you become a better player. We here at SkillCapped want to thank you for watching. We'll catch you in the next. I'm Dr. Zora, and good luck out there.